Well, welcome back to our 2011 Kentucky Derby coverage. This is the segment you've been waiting for. You want to know our picks for the Kentucky Derby. We've previewed all the horses. We've talked about all the possibilities. Now it's time, Dave. Got to walk up to the window. You got to put that money down, and that's what we're all here for that first Saturday in May. And when you make that walk to the race book, what's it going to be?
Well, again, we talked in the earlier segments about you don't want to be too conservative. So, I mean, I don't know what my final game plan will be because you got to check the tote boards and see what the prices are out there. And going to be playing a lot of exotics. And but the horse I'm probably going to play to win, if he's anywhere near morning line price, is like Comma to the Top, a horse that I put on top in the Daily Racing Form print edition on Saturday. You might take some exception with this, which is fine. We love debating the horses. But yeah, this horse, all about the speed, definitely. And there's a lot of speed in this field. In fact, the first 4 horses are probably going to take back 5, 6, and 7 posts, where Comma to Top is the 6, are probably going to gun to the lead. And then you might have Uncle Mo on the outside, sold at. Some other horses pressing the pace. But I think Comma to the Top can be the speed of the speed here. And I think he could actually be controlling speed. I think he might be able to slow him down. Now, when I do my handicapping, I never look at the jockeys when I'm doing my original handicapping because I don't want to be, swayed by that. But when I saw the entries after I landed on Comma to the Top and I saw Patrick Valenzuela was on this one, I loved it even more. I mean, definitely a speed jockey, and yeah, he knows how to control these horses out in the lead. Again, we're getting price of 30 to 1. Lost Sanity Derby last race after giving up the lead late, and obviously that's why we're getting our price. And as I mentioned before, a lot of people not very high on the West Coast contingent this year. So I think it's very live. And the thing with speed horses, and I know that you mentioned about speed usually not holding up in the Derby, but every so often it does. And because coming down the stretch, everyone's like, oh, where's the closers? Here come the closers. Where are the closers? Yeah. And then everyone's like, wow, he hung on. I mean, and again, if this horse was 5 to 1, I wouldn't be taking a chance on that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you're talking 25, 30 to 1, who knows what this one might go off at. I think, turning for Holt, I'm going to be feeling pretty good.
Now, maybe you have the answer to it, or you don't. I don't, and I'm going to research it now because you've piqued my interest in the horse. It's not a horse that I had in my handicapping. The question that I've got to ask, and I'm going to research it. If you have the answer, fire away at me. But the switch to Valenzuela, was this a move that they decided against Corey Nakatani, or did he pick the other horse over this one? That would be my, because he's in the race as well. That would be, that's a thing that sometimes, it's a curious kind of, a lot of handicappers like to use it as a handicapping factor, that if the jockey has two live mounts, he can't ride them both. If he makes the choice, they put a little more credence on his decision. Or was this, not a jockey decision? This was an owner and trainer decision, which obviously, if it was, then that's even more, credence to your
and
pick.
I don't have the specific answer to that question. I haven't seen or heard that myself. I do tend to downplay those kind of things because, again, you hear about the time when a horse, jockey does take a horse and then it wins. But there's many times when they choose a horse and they lose, but no one's interviewing them after the race anymore. So you tend to forget those.
As an owner, I can tell you personally, I never forget when a jockey picks off my horse. And if wherever I finish in that race, obviously I want to win and get a purse check. But if I don't, the next thing I do is I look to see where the driver that didn't take my horse, and if I beat him, I'm happy. But it is a factor that some people put more weight into it as well. But
yeah, I mean the thing with the speed horse, also what I was saying, is this field is not the best we've seen in recent years even, and so I think there is also the case where. I want to be on the lead. I want to make these other horses, which you can definitely argue are a little subpar. I want to make them catch me. So again, if they do, so be it. Hopefully, it's one of my closers.
There you go. Obviously, you know, this horse most likely is going to be the pace setter. The other horse that is expected to go out of there as well, Pants on Fire. Hopefully Pants on Fire isn't on fire out of the gate and that they get locked up in a speed duel. If these two horses can rate, you know, and comma to the top, you know, gets those soft fractions, I can't disagree with, you know, I've seen these front runners that have, you know, as we like to say, still a race. You know, everybody expects one thing to happen, and they make some adjustments, and all of a sudden, there's only one horse out there on the lead, and he's doing that loose on the lead, no pressure, and so we'll see what happens with that. The horse that intrigues me, you know, again, I'm going to buck history, but Midnight Interlude, I just think that there's so much upside on this horse. Yeah, he didn't race as a 2-year-old, but it's not like it's never ever been done. It just hasn't been done very often. And one of the reasons for that too is there's not that many horses that didn't race at 2 that are of the quality to even race at 3. That's
right.
One of the things about that stat that's misleading. If you go back and look at this, you know, I don't have the sample size to tell you what it is, but it's not as big as you would think it is, because if a horse didn't show any talent at all at 2, generally he's not on the Kentucky Derby trail at 3. So that's one of the reasons why it doesn't happen. But this horse has done everything right since then. His only fault is he didn't race at 2. You know, maybe he was a late foal. Maybe he had some, you know, illness that put him behind his training schedule, and they did the right thing rather than racing, you know, racing a horse to get ready, you know, pushing him. They waited, let him mature, come back at 3. Bob Baffert on Kentucky Derby Day, always a factor. That's where I'm looking for my top, you know, choice at this time. Like I said, I gave 6 horses that we talked about on this video. The 6 horses that we talked about in the prior segments, I believe if the race goes right for them, all 6 of them do have a chance to win this Derby. I'll be mixing around a lot of exactas and combinations, and I'll be deciding on who my, you know, big long shot play that I'll accompany, you know, in all my keys and my win and place and show wagers as well, and I'll decide all of that on Saturday. So, you know, be sure to check out the website pregame.com on Saturday for my final thoughts. Dave, this has been great doing the Kentucky Derby. We're almost done. We're going to make you work one more video because we're going to come back. We're going to take a look at, we don't want to discriminate. We don't want them marching in front of the pregame offices. You know, all the women with their picket signs. You forgot the fillies. We got to talk about the Kentucky Oaks. So we'll be right back and preview the Kentucky Oaks.